I'm Kayla Explains the Pokemon Multiverse. In Red and Blue, there were version exclusives. Each individual save file is also its own parallel universe. The basic events of the storyline still stay the same. Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald take place at about the same time as Red, Blue, and Yellow. We never see a situation where in-universe events can be changed through time travel. Basically, Pokemon's version of a creator date. It can move things across different parallel universes. Hello! Welcome to part 2 of my Pokemon Multiverse series. In this episode, we're going to look at generations 6, 7, and 8. We're going to figure out which other universes are most closely related to these ones, and we're also going to look at Mega Evolution, which just makes everything kind of crazy. Warning, universes with Mega Evolution are a lot darker than universes without it, so if you want Pokemon to continue being all sunshine and rainbows and happiness, stick to video 1 in this series. If you want to put all the pieces together and truly understand how the Pokemon Multiverse works, keep watching. Gen 6 consists of the games X and Y and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Just like in my previous video, when you get to Generation 5 after, the version exclusives don't match up, so there's no way to say that like this game is more closely related to Blue or Red or anything like that. So for the next games going forward, we're just gonna ignore that. It kind of makes sense that we can't easily find these parallels because this game is based on France and all the games with those parallels are based on parts of Japan. Because of the official timeline post, we know that X and Y take place at the same time as Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, which means they take place about 2 years after Generation 5. When it comes to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, they have similar events to Gen 3, but because of reasons that I'll explain when I talk about Gen 7, they actually occur much later in the Mega Universes than in the non-Mega Universes. To understand the split between Mega Universes and non-Mega Universes, we're going to need to look at Infinity Energy, how it is used, and where it comes from. What exactly is Infinity Energy? Well, it's used to power multiple different types of devices in the Pokemon world. Massive amounts of Infinity Energy can be used to give life and take life. AZ is the only confirmed person to use Infinity Energy in this way. He uses it to bring Floette back to life, and then he uses it as the ultimate weapon to violently put an end to the war. Because AZ was exposed to such a large amount of Infinity Energy, he is immortal. This is actually the only known way to achieve immortality in the Pokemon world, so keep this in mind when you're creating this character is immortal theories. But most of the time, Infinity Energy is the power source behind most of the devices created by the Devon Corporation. This includes their submarines, the rockets they launch from the space station in Moss Deep and Hoenn, and devices used to trade across universes. These various uses of Infinity Energy by the Devon Corporation are explicitly stated in the Delta episode. Next obvious question is, where does Infinity Energy come from? And here's where it gets dark. Infinity Energy is the life energy of Pokemon. Yeah, that's right. Pokemon need to be killed in order to get this energy. Well, I guess technically they don't need to be killed, they just need to die, but still. That means that every time you trade Pokemon across games, you're using other Pokemon's life energy to do it. I'm just gonna assume these Pokemon died of natural causes so that I feel less guilty about all the trading I've done. Although the lore you can find in C. Mauville definitely suggests that the Devon Corporation was experimenting on Pokemon and kind of straight up murdering them, so yeah, that's bad. Anyways, so we know what Infinity Energy is and we know where it comes from, but how does this tie into Mega Evolution? Well, we know that Xerneas/Yveltal was a major component in AZ's ultimate weapon, which makes sense because his weapon gave and took life, which are the powers of Xerneas and Yveltal. So it seems likely that AZ used Infinity Energy to add some extra oomph to the things that Xerneas and Yveltal could already do. Since the weapon used the power of Xerneas/Yveltal, and we know that Mega Stones were created when evolutionary stones were exposed to the power of Xerneas or Yveltal, it follows that Mega Stones are evolutionary stones that were hit by the ultimate weapon. Because the ultimate weapon was powered by Infinity Energy, that means that Mega Stones also contain a little bit of the life force of Pokemon. Keystones, the other ingredient needed for Mega Evolution, are similar because they contain the life force of humans. This is explicitly stated in the Delta episode of Oras. It's entirely possible that keystones were also created when the ultimate weapon was fired, since it killed a lot of people as well. In order to Mega Evolve a Pokemon, you need to use both a Keystone and a Megastone, aka you need to combine the life energy of people and Pokemon. Because it had so many consequences, AZ choosing to fire the ultimate weapon or not created a huge split within the Pokemon multiverse. On one side, we have the games I talked about in my last episodes, the ones without Mega Evolution. They represent universes where AZ chose not to fire the ultimate weapon, so Megastones were never created. But Generation 6 and 7 take place in universes where AZ did choose to fire the weapon, killing tons of people and Pokemon and creating the Megastones. Note that Infinity Energy still exists and is used in the non-Mega universes, but it's never been weaponized the way that it has in the Mega universes. I also want to point out that the Mega universes are frequently shown using Mega Evolution to solve their problems, like using Mega Rayquaza to destroy the meteor. However, Zinnia suggests that these problems also happen in non-Mega universes as well. How do non-Mega universes survive these threats without Mega Evolution? Zinnia suggests that not all of them do, like her Hoenn definitely did not survive. However, we know that some of the universes do survive because we play games set in those universes, so they must find some other way to solve those problems. We don't entirely know what those solutions are, but I do have a theory. Since the theory mostly comes from the side games, I'm going to be talking about it in the next video of this series, so a reminder to subscribe. Okay, another important thing to talk about with Gen 6, and this is a big one, is fallers. Fallers are people who travel from one universe to another, typically falling from the sky onto a beach. Their memories tend to get a bit jumbled during the process, with some even having no memories at all. While many fallers are shown slowly regaining their memories, Zinnia is the only faller who seems to have most, if not all, of her memories intact. It's difficult to get a straight answer out of her though, so we only have vague details about her history. Fallers tend to have some of the same Pokemon before and after they fall, though whether the Pokemon they have on them fall with them, or if they just tend to subconsciously catch the Pokemon they had before, is unknown. We get conflicting evidence for this both ways in later generations, so it's really tough to say. Last thing to quickly mention is Hoopa. In the main games, Hoopa is specifically said to transfer objects across space. So kind of like Celebi, but moving objects through space instead of time. This gets complicated in the side games though, which I will talk about in the next video of this series. Okay, that was a lot of information. Gen 7? Gen 7. Pokemon Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, and Ultra Moon take place 2 years after Generation 6, so they might be the furthest in the timeline of all the multiverses that we've seen so far. The characters Red and Blue are in these games, though they're much more grown up now, probably in their 20s. Wally is also in these games. In non-Mega Evolution universes, Wally is about the same age as Red and Blue, probably just like a year or so younger, so he should also be in his 20s in these games. However, Wally looks much younger than that. He looks very similar to how he did in Oras. This means that in the Mega timeline, Oras likely occurs later, which is why I lined it up with Gen 5. Additionally, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee include the characters Red and Blue when they're old enough to call themselves veterans, but younger than they are in the Gen 7 games. Mina is also in Let's Go, and she's estimated to be about 4 years younger than she is in the Gen 7 games. That means Let's Go also lines up with Gen 5, which makes sense because in the non-Mega timeline, Generations 1 and 3 happen at the same time. They happen at the same time in Mega universes as well, just a little bit later than they do in non-Mega universes. The most notable thing about Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, and Ultra Moon are that they're the only games that show parallel universes within one game. Like, we're actually able to go into other universes within one game. Like, especially in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, Solgaleo and Lunala are able to help people travel through Ultra Wormholes and traverse Ultra Space, the space between universes, guiding them to and from their home universes. While we might at first think that these are other worlds and not other universes, we actually know that this is not the case because of one of the universes we're able to travel to. This place is called the Ultra Ruin, and it resembles a futuristic but destroyed Howley City. There's actually a person there who explains that the people of his universe fled Howley City after the arrival of Guzzlord. This indicates that these are parallel universes, not other planets. What's really cool about this is that we get more variety of parallel universes than ever before. Some of these parallel universes are truly bizarre, which is great because given enough iterations of a universe, there should be some weird stuff out there. During the post-game, we even get to meet alternate universe evil team leaders who actually were able to achieve their goals. The leader of this combined team, Team Rainbow Rocket, is a version of Giovanni who caught Mewtwo and took over his world. The other leaders are Maxie, Archie, Cyrus, Getsus, and Lysandre. It seems when the evil team leader wins, their worlds don't do so good. Like, Cyrus's world was pretty much basically definitely destroyed, and then Maxie and Archie's world seem to be almost destroyed as well, and then the other worlds just aren't doing great for your regular average human being, slash they might even be dead. Lysandre. Like, it's just very, very bad. So it definitely drives home the point of why we need to defeat the evil team whenever we play Pokemon games. Finally, these games give us more information about fallers, saying that they fell through Ultra Wormholes. This means that fallers somehow ended up traversing Ultra Space without Solgaleo or Lunala to guide them. They got lost out in Ultra Space, which is pretty creepy if you ask me. Like, I'm gonna definitely hold really tight to Solgaleo and Lunala from now on. We don't even know if these characters purposefully went into these Ultra Wormholes or were somehow pulled in. It might potentially be a bit of both. Generation 6 and 7 are the only main games so far that take place in the Mega Universes. So does that mean Generation 8 goes back to the non-Mega Universes timeline kind of thing? Well, some of the games do, but we're not sure about some of the others. Let's actually start with Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, the easiest to place because they are faithful remakes of Diamond and Pearl. There are very few changes from the originals, so we're going to place these in the non-Mega timeline, extremely closely parallel to Diamond and Pearl. The only interesting multiverse lore is that in Romanus Park, slates, which look like game cartridges, are used to encounter legendary Pokemon from other regions. Using the slates transports you to different areas to catch the legendaries. It's very likely that these areas that we see within Romanus Park are actually other universes that we're traveling to, because in real life we use the game cartridges to go to different Pokemon multiverses. Next, I want to talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus, which yes, is a core game in the series officially. It is not a side game. PLA starts with the player character falling from one universe to another. Because the player character, as a faller, doesn't have all of their memories intact, we only learn a little bit about the universe that they came from. They likely were from either Kalos or Galar because the male trainer wears a shirt from Kalos and the female trainer wears a shirt from Galar. The universes they're from are also confirmed to have Pokemon in them, which is why your character is a lot more comfortable with Pokemon than the other people around. But other than that, we don't find out much about their previous universe. We do see that Arceus helps redirect the player into the universe of PLA when they fall. This makes sense because in my last video, I explained that Arceus exists in a place between universes, which I called the metaphysical plane, but it's probably pretty similar to Ultra Space. It seems like Arceus lives in the deep recesses of Ultra Space, guiding people who fall off Solgaleo or Lunala or just fall into Ultra Wormholes in general to a different universe. Spatially, the universe that the player falls into is Sinnoh, but temporally, it takes place way in the past. PLA is based on Hokkaido in the 1860s, right before the Meiji Restoration, which was a period of time when Japanese settlers colonized Hokkaido and forced the native Ainu people to assimilate. The plot of PLA mirrors this, but it's a little more friendship is magic and less assimilate. Anyways, this would put PLA a little more than 100 years before Gen 1. Keep in mind that since each game exists in a parallel universe, the universe that we experience in PLA is not the same universe as the one we experience in other Sinnoh-based games. They're gonna be very similar, there's gonna be a lot of crossover, but they're not exactly one for one the same. The universe in PLA is also not the same universe that the player is falling from, obviously because we
see them fall. We're not just moving through time, we're moving into another universe. It does seem likely that similar events occurred in the past of the Sinnoh-based games due to the historical events matching with what we know of modern Sinnoh, such as the creation of Spear Pillar. Also, many of the characters in PLA are ancestors to various modern characters, with this mostly lining up very well with what we know from other games. Surprisingly, there's not much more multiverse information factually stated in PLA, but there's a lot that's hinted at. But since it's not like actually explicitly stated, and this video is supposed to be the actual lore, I'm gonna save that discussion for other videos. So again, make sure you're subscribed. Okay, on to Galar. Sword and Shield are the most difficult games to play in the timeline because there are no other recurring characters within them. Like, we don't see Red, we don't see Blue, we don't see anybody. The only thing we do know is that these games occur in non-mega universes. The next obvious question is why? And there's basically two possible answers. One is that the universes where we see Sword and Shield are just very different from the universes we've seen before. They're parallel, but they're distantly parallel. The other possibility is that Sword and Shield take place in a very different time from the other games. So distant in time that we're not going to see characters reoccur. I honestly don't think we have enough information to definitively say either way, so let me know in the comments which theory you think is correct. Sword and Shield don't add much to the lore in a multiversal sense because they are kind of so separate. They do officially name the concept of the Darkest Day, which they've been using in previous Pokemon games without naming it. But other than that, we just don't have enough to connect these games to the multiverse. Which brings us to Generation 9. I think it's very likely that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet will be most closely related to Sword and Shield in a multiversal sense, with characters from Sword and Shield potentially returning to Scarlet and Violet. If Scarlet and Violet have characters from Sword and Shield and also have characters from other games, it could potentially serve as a connector between these different parallel universes. That would retroactively give us a bunch of information about Generation 8, which I would very much like. Only time will tell, but oh boy am I excited to see which direction they take the franchise. Hopefully a new Gen 9 trailer will drop soon with some more information. So now that you understand the lore behind non-mega universes, mega universes, and whatever Sword and Shield is, we're ready to go really deep into the Pokemon multiverse shenaniganry. In the next video in this series, I'm going to be looking at the side games and other forms of Pokemon media. They don't tie as closely into the main series games as other main series games, obviously, but there are actually a lot of multiversal tie-ins to all of these other parts of the franchise. Knowing all of those other different forms of Pokemon media actually gives you more information about the main games. So yeah, if you learned something new, leave a like on this video, and if you want to make sure you don't miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed. Bye!